السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أعزائي الطلاب، نلتقي مرة أخرى إن شاء الله لنعيد شرح ما تبقى في السنتاج. Dear students, we are meeting once again in order to explain the last part regarding to syntax. Unfortunately, the first recording didn't go right. There was something wrong with it. That's why I have to do this again. I'm sorry for this misconvenience. Part 3, once again, structural ambiguity. Okay, let's read the examples, okay, because we don't have enough time to do this again. I don't like visiting women at night. As you see, this sentence is ambiguous because it has two different meanings, and the structural ambiguity resulting from the words I don't like to visit women at night, that is the first underlying structure at the deep structure. So the first underlying structure is the first meaning, that is I don't like, I myself don't like to visit women at night, or when it is night I don't like to visit women. Okay, so I don't like, I mean the action of visiting, the act of visiting women at night. The second meaning is that I don't like women to visit me at night. I don't like women who visit at night. So this is the second underlying structure at the deep structure. Okay, so we have two different meanings because we have two different underlying structures of this sentence. Example number 2, I like flying kites. So this sentence is ambiguous because I would say I like to fly kites. So I like my act of flying kites. أحب تطير الورق. The second meaning is that I like to see kites flying in the sky. So this can be an object, okay? An object, but I like flying what? Flying kites. So kites is a complement of object. So in Arabic we can translate this sentence into أحب الطائرات الورقية الطائرة، أحب تطير الطائرات الورقية. Number 3, they are cooking apples. They are cooking apples, as you see of the subject they, and we have are cooking and apples. So are cooking can be transitive verb, and apples can be the object of the verb are cooking. So they are cooking. What are they doing? They're cooking apples. What kind of apples are they cooking? Apples. So the second meaning is that they is the subject, and are is a linking verb فعل رابط, and cooking apples is a complement of subject. So cooking is an adjective, becomes an adjective, and apples is the noun, that is the noun phrase cooking apples. Okay, the next example, they called me Mr. Sam. So if you just consider the verb call, this is a problematic because it can be transitive verb, it can be complex verb. I explained this on Google Meet yesterday. So there is the subject, called is transitive verb, and me is the indirect object, and Mr. Smith is the direct object. So the underlying structures, I mean the two underlying structures of this sentence are they called Mr. Sam for me. استدعوا السيد سام لي. يعني in Arabic استدعوا للسيد سام. The other meaning, okay, they, subject, called is complex verb, and me is an object, and Mr. Sam is a complement of object. لقبوني أو نادوني بالسيد Sam. Okay, I mean they just give me the name Mr. Sam. Okay, the police arrested 4 men and women. So it can be the police arrested 4 men and 4 women, or the police arrested 4 men and any number of women. Okay, so we have to say women, not man. It's not women, it's women. Okay, so you have to change the a into e because it must be plural. Sometimes structural ambiguity can be used as a joke. Look at this sentence. One morning I shot an elephant in my pajamas. How he got in my pajamas? I don't know. So he refers to an elephant. So what causes the ambiguity is the preposition in, because this preposition can be used instead of a whole clause. While I was wearing my pajamas. So in causes ambiguity, in my pajamas or while I was wearing pajamas. It's like when you say, look at the woman who is wearing a black jilbab. Look at the woman in the black jilbab. Annie whacked the man with an umbrella. So what is the ambiguity? The ambiguity is that we don't know the one who had an umbrella. So you can say Annie whacked the man who had an umbrella. Who had an umbrella. Or Annie used an umbrella to whack the man. نخزت, okay? So this has two underlying structures. So once again, using an umbrella, comma, Annie whacked the man. Or Anne whacked the man, full stop, the man had an umbrella. Okay, here we have the same surface structure, but different deep structure. I just mentioned the two different deep structures, which are the underlying two structures. يعني الجملتين الرئيسيات لهذه الجملة. What are two possible meanings? The two distinct deep structures, two distinct underlying interpretation here. يعني إذا كان عندي في طبعا جملتين رئيسيات للمعنى العميق للجملة للجملتين، إذا لابد أن يكون هناك معنيين مختلفين أو تفسيرين مختلفين. The boy saw the man with the telescope. If you remember the sentence, the boy saw the man with the telescope. So this is the surface structure. لكن الديب structure يؤدي إلى طبعا two different underlying structures with two different interpretations or two different meanings. So we can say the boy saw the man who had a telescope, or the boy used a telescope to see the man, or using a telescope, comma, the boy saw the man. Right, two different meanings because two different deep structures. Okay, look at this phrase, small boys and girls. Small boys, but it doesn't necessarily indicate that small girls. Okay? Small boys and small girls, small boys only, but not small girls. Another example, the policeman hit the boy with a stick. So this is ambiguous. It's problematic. So this is the surface structure. The policeman hit the boy with a stick, but at the deep structure, at the deep level, it means the policeman used a stick to hit the boy, or the police hit the boy who had a stick. So our syntactic analysis should be capable of showing the structural distinction. Okay, so once again, our syntactic analysis should be capable of showing the structural distinction between these underlying representations, which is using a stick, comma, the policeman hit the boy, or the policeman used a stick, the policeman hit the boy who had a stick. So someone may ask, what is structural ambiguity? Is it the cause of having multi-meaning words in the sentence or not? A situation in which a single phrase or sentence has two or more different underlying structures and interpretations. Now, okay, the boy saw the man with the telescope. Meaning, number one, using the telescope, the boy saw the man. Using the telescope, the boy saw the man. But this is still ambiguous. So you have to say, the boy used a telescope to saw the man, or vice versa. The boy saw the man had a telescope. If you see, we have this is a reminder that a sentence must have two underlying elements or phrases, that is the noun phrase and the verb phrase. Any sentence must have a noun phrase and a verb phrase, because this is an obligatory element. Noun phrase consists of article, sometimes adjective, and noun phrase, a pronoun or proper noun. Ahmad, Rami, Gaza. A verb phrase consists of verb plus noun phrase or prepositional phrase or adverb. Okay, I saw him running very fast. Okay, a prepositional phrase consists of a preposition plus noun phrase. So here now we have a new rule. Okay, noun phrase consists of article, adjective, noun, and a preposition. So we have the boy. So we have, this is the article or the terminal, and boy, okay, that is the noun. So this is the noun phrase. And the verb phrase, as you see, consisting of what? Of the verb and noun phrase, the man. So the noun phrase consists of the article and the noun and the noun man. So with a telescope, as you see, the verb phrase must consist of a preposition, that is the preposition, and the noun phrase. As you see, a verb phrase consists of a preposition and noun phrase. Hopefully this is very clear. The boy saw the man with the telescope. As we see, the underlying elements of a sentence are the noun phrase and the verb phrase. The noun phrase and the verb phrase, as you see, this is very clear. We have article the, and the noun is boy. I would say the naughty boy. If we say the naughty boy, the little boy, the angry boy, the good boy. So we have another row going down, and here we just add naughty boy, the good boy, the clever boy. And the verb phrase, as you see, the verb phrase, we have noun phrase, and then we have a verb phrase. So verb phrase, verb, we have noun phrase, and we have PP, that is a verb phrase or a prepositional phrase. You see, this is the verb phrase. We have noun phrase, and we have the preposition. We shouldn't forget the syntactic rules or syntactic analysis. Okay. And this is very clear. Using the telescope, the boy saw the man, or with a telescope, the boy saw a man, and so on. Okay, the boy saw the man with the telescope. As you see, sentence, noun phrase, verb phrase. Okay, verb, we have noun phrase because we have noun, then we have a verb phrase. Then we have, because we have a verb phrase, we must have noun phrase. So the boy saw the man had a telescope. Recursion. We studied, okay, last time, or we focused on recursive rules, and we said recursive rules means the ability to generate sentences from the main sentence. So I mean that we make the sentence much more complicated as much as a grammar allows us to do. Recursive rules can be applied more than once in generating a structure. For example, repeating a prepositional phrases more than once. The gun was on the table. Here we have near. We have two prepositions, on and near. The gun was on the table near the window. The gun was on the table near the window, in the bedroom, in the building. So we have the repetition of the preposition or a verb phrase on the table, near the window, and in the kitchen. We call this generating phrases from the same sentence. Mary helped George Kathy knew that, so we have that. Kathy knew that Mary helped George, so we have that. Mary helped George, that is the object. John believed that Kathy knew that Mary helped George, so we have that. And we have another that. These are complementizers. And what follows is a complement a phrase or a complement a clause. That is the cat. That is the cat that ate the cheese that was sold by the man who lived in the city that was on the river that is in the north of London, that is the capital of London, the capital of the United Kingdom, which is a European country, which is in the continent of Europe and so on. So you can extend the sentence as much as grammar allows you to do. We call this recursion or recursive rules. No end to recursion that would produce longer complex sentences. Our syntactic analysis should account for, give reason for the fact that a sentence can have another sentence inside it. So a sentence within a sentence within a sentence, or three clauses within a complex sentence. And last time, if you remember, if you recall, when we explained or discussed or represented the different types of sentence, we said we have complex compound sentence. Okay, let's have examples. Mary helped George. That is a complex sentence with a single idea. Mary helped George. Kathy knew. That is a sentence or a clause that Mary helped George. John believed. We have a clause number one that Kathy knew. So we have a clause number two that Mary helped George. So Mary helped George is the independent clause because it has a full meaning. Now we move to something new, that is complement phrases. If you remember when we said Ahmed is a teacher, teacher is a complement of subject. Ahmed made his mom very angry, so very angry is a complement of object, and so on. Kathy knew that Mary helped George. Just please pay attention here. Kathy knew, so Kath is the subject, and knew is a transitive verb. And that Mary helped George, this is that clause functioning as an object, but remember that is complementizer or is just a linking word because it links Kathy knew with Mary helped George. So what is the grammatical function of Mary helped George? That is an object, that is the object of the verb knew. So that is a complementizer. We give it the symbol C. Complementizer. What is the rule of that? That is a complementizer. It introduces a complement a phrase or complement a clause, or it introduces another sentence. So remember, dear students, that what comes after that is a complete sentence. What comes after that is a complete sentence. We have Mary is a subject, and helped is a transitive verb, and George is an object. So once again, Mary is the subject, and helped is the verb, and George is the object. So once again, this is a clause functioning as an object, and some grammarians call it complement a phrase. Complement a phrase, but I don't agree with this. I would rather call it complement a clause because this is a clause. Okay, here we have a new rule, complement a phrase. Complement a phrase or complement a clause, you may call it, okay, gives us complementizer and sentence. So we have this complementizer, and then we have sentence. So this symbol stands for sentence. A complement a phrase or a complement a clause consists of a complementizer that is the linking device. يعني شغلها فقط الربط، ويمكن حذف، ويمكن أن نقول Kathy knew Mary helped George. So once again, a complement phrase consists of a complementizer and a sentence. For example, okay, the complement phrase comes after a verb. This means that we are using the complement phrase as part of the verb phrase. Part of the verb phrase knew that Mary helped George. So this is part of it. I would say new is the verb phrase, and what follows is part of it. Don't forget this. Now we have a new rule, a verb phrase consisting of a verb and a complement phrase. As you see, complement phrase. Okay, we have okay the sentence. We have noun phrase, verb phrase. We have verb plus complementizer. Plus complement phrase. If I say I know that Ahmed is honest, so know is a verb phrase consisting of verb know and the complement phrase that Ahmed is honest. So we have complement phrase consists of complementizer, that is that and sentence. Ahmed, I know that Ahmed is honest. So Ahmed is honest is the sentence, and that is the complementizer. That is a linking word. Try these exercises. Try this. Ahmed thinks that the teacher knows that Muhammad met Hani. So here we have three clauses. Ahmed thinks, so think is the transitive verb, and what follows is the object. That is a complementizer. So we call this complement phrase. So the teacher knows. Here we have a clause. The teacher knows. We have the subject and we have the verb. Knows what? This is a second complementizer. Okay, it is complement phrase or complement clause. Complement of a clause, sorry. That Muhammad met Hani. So what follows that? Remember, what follows that is a sentence having a complete idea here. Muhammad met Hani. So once again, let's focus on this explanation. That is a complementizer that comes before the verb things. All that clause functions as the object of the verb know. Okay. So once again, so that Muhammad met Hani is the object. So as you see, that comes after the verb know. The verb know comes before that. And so remember that what comes after that is a sentence. ما يأتي بعد that يعتبر جملة. هنا طبعا جملة كاملة because this is independent clause. لكن طبعا هنا what comes after that is a clause because it can't stand alone. This is another exercise. took the money. We have the verb phrase and the noun phrase. وما يأتي طبعا هنا بعد الverb يكون طبعا noun phrase. Verb phrase we have verb and we have noun phrase. Okay, ننظر لو نظرنا هنا نجد طبعا هنا أداة التعريف the طبعا article طبعا والاسم وهو طبعا noun. Took the money from the bank, so we have a verb phrase. طب ما دام في عندي verb phrase لابد ان يكون هناك طبعا سهم منبثق من الverb phrase that is okay بي. طبعا البي هناك طبعا حرف جر from, ومن البي طبعا لابد ان يكون هناك noun phrase لانه لا يمكن ان يكون حرف جر بدون طبعا ايش الnoun phrase. Took the money from the bank, we have be prepositions and we have noun phrase. The old tree swayed in the wind. Okay, طبعا هنا النون phrase طبعا أضفنا عنصر جديد. We can say the tree, although the tree we have the adjective. إذا هناك عنصر ليس ضروري في النون phrase وهو الصفة old. So we see sentence, noun phrase, verb phrase, noun phrase ينقسم طبعا إلى ثلاث أقسام هنا. الأداة الارتكل، الأداة أداة التعريف، والصفة adjective والnoun. طبعا هنا لا تعتبر الادجكتيف obligatory أو طبعا ضرورية. الفيرب phrase اوكي كما نلاحظ ينقسم الى الفعل والبريب فريز. البريب فريز ينقسم الى حرف الجر prepositions والنون فريز. اعزائي الطلاب طبعا نختم هنا بالجمله الاخيره the children put the toy in the box. نلاحظ طبعا ان الفعل put لابد ان ياخذ مفعول به ومكمل للمفعول به او ما يسمى adverb، لان الفعل put لا يمكن ان يستقيم معناه الا اذا جاء بعده مفعول به ومكمل للمفعول به. Dear students, I want to finish my presentation or my online meeting today. Hopefully inshallah we will meet next time. وأكد هذه آخر محاضرة فيما يتعلق بالسنتاكس.